purpose for the next step. Think about it like this. You're going on a journey and you haven't reached your destination yet. You've taken a shade underneath a tree because it's so hot and something like that. That's what this life is compared to what we can't just be very comfortable.
What do you think of materialism? Let's say, capitalism now, like it's taken over, yeah? Like the world is sort of like running by capitalism.
Yeah, we can link that.
Do you think it's part of Islam? Like, do you think like Islam agrees to capitalism? Because we were talking to someone.
Okay. Islam is not capitalism, neither capitalism is Islam. Otherwise, they should say Islam then. Why don't they label it as Islam?
Exactly, yeah.
Right? It's not.
Well, like I was talking to someone who was like,
But can we develop this more, linking with this answer?
Yeah, sure.
Because we can talk about the Islamic polity and governance and see how this all fits in. So we have to consider ourselves. We're on a journey, and when you're on a journey, imagine you're going for a conference somewhere in Dublin.
Yep.
Do you know where Dublin is?
Yep.
Yeah, fine. And you realize, you know what? My next step was, say, somewhere, in the middle, say Birmingham, whatever, right? And then I said, fine, that's it. I'm gonna now start look. But you can't feel that you're in the conference yet because you're not in the conference. You can't just get off there and then say, let me live my life and give my lecture or whatever presentation you want to do, because you are still on a transition. This life, people feel so comfortable and thinking like that's the end of it. But that's our transition to the next life. So we should always feel like a traveler. So we need to say, okay, I'm on a journey and I need to have my way where I'm going smoother enough to take me there. That means I cannot just simply settle there in a transitionary stop. Yeah. So afterlife is my real destination. This life, people live what? 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 120, 130, 140? Probably not. That's how far it goes, like in life. But hereafter, when there's going to be another life given to us back again, eternity with no end. Either eternity with no end. Now, why this is something reasonable and logical? Because why do we die in the first place? Who programmed us to die?
I thought our cells just died.
They're programmed. They're programmed.
Right, by
Apoptosis, right? Programmed cell death. We are programmed to die.
What is it called?
Apoptosis.
Apoptosis.
Apoptosis. It's a programmed cell death. So we have a program in your DNA. We are meant to age. They can try all their best and so on, but still the program is there. We will die. Okay. Cancer, it's like uncontrollable cell division where it goes on and on and on and on forever. But cancer will kill us. Okay. Even though the cells are becoming like immortalized, but they will kill us. We will die regardless, even if you have cancer or not. Okay. So may God help those who have cancer and cure them. Okay. People are suffering for it. So what we're talking about in terms of death is inevitable. We will die sooner or later. We did not program us to die. Who did? The one who gave us life in the first place.
Yeah, okay.
So the reason why we die is because we need to go to the next life by fulfilling the purpose of this life. This is the time span in which we're supposed to do certain things to get yourself into the next phase of life.
Do you think we have like tests in life, like things
This life is a test.
Okay.
I didn't want to use this word. I didn't want to use this word because often find like test. But yes, God says in the Quran, He created death and life. Life and death, so that He can test us, who is good in deeds, better in deeds, not. So we will be tested in terms of how we believe and what we do in terms of our actions. And then that determines our future outcome in paradise and heaven, eternal bliss, joy and happiness, or in misery, suffering and torture in hellfire. But God doesn't want us to go there. He doesn't want us to go to heaven, hell. He wants us to go to heaven. He created us and gave us all the guidance, all the necessary tools to make our decisions, to avoid the footsteps which would take us to hellfire. And He's pleased with us when we are following the purpose we are created for and worshipping Him. So the purpose we are created here is to worship God. And gratitude is an essential part of that worship.
Yeah.
We talked about gratitude, that's where gratitude comes in. The one who gave you life, the means to sustain your life, is the one who deserves your gratitude. and you should show this gratitude. Worship is not something that you do some rituals and without any meaning. You are showing thanks and glory and gratitude to God, and He also tells you to be grateful to human beings for what they do and so on and so forth. Live with in peace and tranquility and harmony. Thank people when they deserve to be thanked, and so on.
What do you not agree about Islam? Things that you don't agree with?
Well, obviously, like there's we don't know what.
Let's say we talk about hijab.
Well, I mean, wearing a hijab for me would be a big deal. It'd be very weird for me to wear that.
Yeah, I mean,
It would be though, wouldn't it?
you see, hijab, there are certain things which called essential parts of faith. Hijab will be a manifestation of your faith in action, but faith in God, in the last day, in the prophets and the messengers and his books and so on, these are essential. To be a Muslim, you have to, don't say, oh, I declare that I'm going to wear a hijab, and that doesn't make you a Muslim. What makes you a Muslim is when you say there is no God worthy of worship except one and only true God, and you accept Prophet Muhammad is his final messenger and his servant, his slave. That makes you a Muslim.
Right.
What you eat, what you wear is going to be the manifestation of following the faith part that God wants you to live in a particular way. Because once you recognize someone, once you recognize someone is your dad, the way you approach him is going to be different. Like, he's your dad, right?
Yeah.
You're going to treat him like your slave, for example. You're going to treat him with love and honor and respect and care.
What
and
if you
support.
just think, what if he's give that back to you? Do you just give it to anyone who doesn't really deserve it? You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Why you just love everyone?
Our parents always deserve our honor and respect, whether they're misbehaving, for example, wrongly.
Yeah.
But still, we should not treat them any less better. We should always be on the upper hand of treatment. So if someone now comes to me, like my enemy in a battlefield, whatever, insults me and so on, I shouldn't insult them back. I should not ridicule them, mock them, and so on and so forth.
So would you say Islam represents just be a good human being? Like be a good person?
Islam expects you to be a good human being and treat other people as good human beings.
Right.
So we treat other human beings, all people are innocent until they're proven guilty. Unlike the other way around in modern society, in which you're all guilty unless you're proven innocent. Everywhere you go in a passport application or you're going on a plane journey or something, you have to prove yourself that you're innocent. You're guilty by default, right?
Yeah.
But in Islam, it's different. All people are innocent until they're proven guilty. Okay?
So when we all die, we go to what, like a bit of a, what is it?
So there is a transition called barzakh. There's an intermediate phase before you are resurrected back again for Day of Judgment. Okay? So there is a transition in which it may be in your grave. Okay? And you might not even notice how long it is, because when people are resurrected back again in the Day of Judgment, people say, who's raised us again from our sleep and so on? Who has waked us up? Man ba'athana min marqadina. Who has raised us up? They will think, if they're asked how long were you there for, they say maybe half a day, maybe a day.
Wait, so like...
So your perception within this intermediate period is such that it will be diluted. You know how time understanding is so different now in terms of our understanding of time. So when you resurrect it back again, you might think you've just been a little bit, a fraction of a day or
Resurrected
something.
back into yourself?
We will be resurrected with another body.
It was like reincarnation.
Our soul will be the same, a different body. You may be totally not you. Say a person is totally burned, has no body parts left.
Right.
But when they're resurrected, they'll be given a physical body again. Because God can gather every single atoms, even they were dispersed. In fact, it says in the Quran, even if things were like you're buried underneath, the earth takes you, your ashes and whatever, you spread anywhere, He will gather you back again together, even to the last bit of you, and He will put you back together.
So you believe that we have like souls?
So we have a soul, and you have a body and soul now, but you will be given back a body, and God says in the Quran, He will resurrect you just like the fingertips. Just like the very fingertips, as unique as you are. And you know what's special about the fingertips? Even though you are so unique with your fingertips, He will bring you back again to that level of uniqueness because He is all able to do so. So in the day of judgment is when we will have to account for our belief in our deeds. Did you believe in God and worship Him, or did you ascribe, partner with God, saying God has a daughter or a son or a father or mother, or there is no God and nature is God, and you worship a tree or a monkey or an elephant, whatever. People can worship other than God. They will be in big trouble because God created us to worship Him, and people instead worship someone else. So the judgment will be such that if they died on that state of disbelief in God,
Just don't go to hell.
God has given us so much warning, so much messages through prophets and messengers and warners and ambassadors like ourselves to remind people, and your own intellect, and God constantly guiding you in your sleep, in your walking. Imagine someone worshipping an idol, concentrating, and a dog comes up, lifts his hind leg, starts urinating. He's waking up from his meditation, starts chasing the dog. As he was chasing the dog, he realized, what am I doing? My God couldn't even protect itself from defilement. At that point, that was a guidance from God, saying, why are you worshipping the idol then? So God guides us through various ways. So if that person didn't take that hint, the inspiration that came to him at that point, then they will be liable of negligence because they didn't take that guidance from God.
So you think God can speak through us to ourselves? Like how
God
intelligent
communicates to us in various ways, right?
Yeah.
God tells us, but it doesn't befit God to communicate with every human being directly. Because who are you? Who am I? Who am I that I deserve God, who's the creator of everything? Imagine my insignificance. I am here on this earth like a speck on this earth.
Yeah.
Nothing. Compared to this earth, I'm nothing.
Yeah.
This earth in our solar system, the earth is nothing in our solar system, like a speck. The solar system itself is like a speck in our Milky Way galaxy. The Milky Way galaxy, as big as it is a speck in the overall scheme of universes. And yet, the one who created us, I think I deserve a speck upon a speck and a speck to have a direct communication with God and says, oh God, why don't you tell me directly, and so on. We are so arrogant and stubborn, okay? We need to be humble. We need to recognize our limitations of who you are. So God sends messengers and prophets who then becomes spokesperson on our behalf, on God's behalf of course, to communicate the message from God, even though we have something already inbuilt called the fitra. Fitra is the natural, innate disposition to know that there is a creator and to worship and to be in line with worshipping that one God. We have that natural disposition.
Yeah.
Because God tells us that even before He brought us in this life, we as souls, we testify.
People say that we were born, everyone's born like Islam in a way because everyone's grateful for
So
something.
not born as Muslims, born in a state of fitra, that's the Arabic word, in this natural innate disposition to know God and to
like
worship
feel
God.
gratitude as well.
Yes.
But then like people defy us of like feeling gratitude.
What happens is, Georgia, what happens is it's the immediate environment and of course their own personal thinking that clouds that innate disposition and makes them to be misguided. Imagine now you're in a family and the family tells you, no, worship Krishna, worship, this God, worship that God, and then you become brain conditioned to follow a particular way of worshipping other than God. So your family, your environment, your school, your faith community, they might direct you to worship other than God. But if you were left alone, without any involvement, you would grow up with this natural preponderance in thinking there is a higher power, Almighty, and
I've
God.
always felt a sense of like something is
Yeah.
I'm here because of someone else.
Yeah, you will always feel that when there is no overpowering of your intellect by all this external either whisperings or inspirations or information overload, whatever it might be. If you're not influenced, if you grew up in an island, for example, you would not be worshipping 3-in-1 God. Never. You would never come to believe that God is 3-in-1 called Father, Son and the Holy Spirit. Never. It's a forced belief. But you will, for sure, recognize that there is an ultimate, almighty, sovereign creator out there. You might not know the name of that creator, because that needs to be communicated to you. You might not know the purpose why you created for, but then you'll recognize that I'm here because of that creator who's given me life, and you'll feel automatic reverence and some kind of submission, and I'm subservient to this creator. That feeling is innate, but it's misdirected now because of people's misguidance from different avenues. To give you an example, no, tell me what you want to ask.
Well, I was wondering because a lot of people, I think, threatened by Islam because it like defies their way of living. Because like, you know, you're not supposed to drink and everything. I think a lot of people get threatened by that because like in our society it's so prevalent that people drink and have empty lives. You know what I mean?
People drink for few reasons, and some of them are social because they're accustomed to drinking.
Yeah.
And they continue drinking because because
yeah, drinking is empty. Like people drink to like fill
Yeah,
a
yeah.
void. Yeah.
So also people drink also to get away from their grief and their suffering and their loss, and to distract themselves, because it's something that befogs your mind and it calms you down, because it's alcohol. It's a chemical substance.
Yeah.
It has, you know, capacity, you know, it affects on the mind, right?
Yeah.
If you drink too much, it clouds your judgment.
Yeah.
So we know that. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, yeah. How are you?
Hi.
So what happens is, so we were talking about, what was it just before, I wanted to make a point.
Sorry, yeah.
No, it's fine. So people misguide, yeah, I got it, alhamdulillah. People, even though they have this innate feeling of reverence, they misdirect it. Look at the youth, TikTok generation, Generation Z, X, Y, Millennium, whatever. What are they doing? They're going towards celebrity reverence. Whether it's pop stars, musicians, singers, dancers, that's all the reverence.
They're looking for something to believe in, you know.
They're showing.
They want something to look up to, but it's the wrong thing to look up to.
Misdirection. So what they're doing, all their reverence and their feeling of love and attachment and some kind of, you know, showing something is someone greater than them that deserves something more. That's what the reverence comes in, and they're giving that to all these idols, the pop stars and so on. So that is demonstrative of the innate feeling that we already all have. But what's happening is now, because of social conditioning, they're misdirecting towards this fake idols. So if we were left alone without this kind of misappropriation, we would be innately thanking and revering our Creator. So that's one thing. It is ingrained within our soul. It's there. God has given us so that we don't make an excuse in the day of judgment. No, I didn't know. You didn't tell me. There will be no excuse, because it's already there, programmed within yourself, in your soul. It might get clouded and covered because of so much conditioning going on, right? That's when the messengers come to establish the evidence against us and saying, look, you need to fulfill your purpose of life, otherwise you'll be punished. And God doesn't punish us unless He sends a prophet and a messenger telling and us, clarifying to us what this is. Okay? Even though this fitrah, this innate disposition should have been enough, but God is so merciful and just, He sends a prophet and a warner throughout human times, and He has sent His last prophet and the messenger, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so that people cannot make any excuse whatsoever being accountable and punished for their disbelief and their improper actions, evil actions. That will be lifted. You can't go in the day of judgment and say, I didn't know. I was supposed to do that because messengers came and told you. That's why if people have not heard about Islam whatsoever, somewhere in a, I don't know, in Greenland or somewhere, you know, in Antarctic, whatever, some people, communities, if they've never heard of it, God would not just simply punish them. God will still have His judgment done on them based on either did they use their intellect, or they will probably have a test if they